In the many rooms and halls of the National Art Gallery of Canada, many treasures can be found. It is here that you can see visual art in all its shapes and forms, including a gallery dedicated to the history of Canadian art. Among the most famous of these are those by Canada's most successful group of painters in history, the Group of Seven.
The Group of Seven was a group of Canadian painters who wanted to create a uniquely Canadian art. They thought that the essence of Canada, the spirit of Canada, could be found in its wilderness, so they focused on landscape painting. The artists also wanted to use a new style, a new visual language. Before the Group of Seven, Canadian artists often studied in Europe and painted in a very academic, European, naturalistic style. But the Group of Seven artists wanted their own style. They wanted a uniquely Canadian style, and so they adopted more of a modern visual language. The group officially formed in 1920 when they had their first group exhibition, which was held at the Art Gallery of Toronto. And they were, of course, called the Group of Seven because there were 7 members: Franklin Carmichael, Lauren Harris, A.Y. Jackson, Frank Johnston, Arthur Lismer, J.E.H. MacDonald, and Frederick Varley. When the Group of Seven started to display their works of art, they received mixed responses. Some people, including conservative critics, were shocked and reacted negatively to their works, partly because they were so different. For example, when a critic first saw J.E.H. MacDonald's painting The Tangled Garden, he accused the artist of throwing his pots of paint into the face of the public and of using colors that were crude. The painting was just too wild for him, the colors too bold. And what's important to understand is that Canadian painting before the Group of Seven tended to be more naturalistic with lots of detail, and landscape painting in particular tended to be picturesque. But for the Group of Seven, this type of painting didn't accurately capture the wilderness of the country, the true nature of the country. And so the Group of Seven used a much more modern visual language. Their works were less naturalistic, more decorative. Basically, they were trying to develop a distinctive Canadian style that could capture the character of the country. The Group of Seven artists played an important role in encouraging and fostering modern Canadian artists. Many of them were teachers and influenced other artists. And the artists also stressed the value of Canadian art. Many collectors at the time only collected European art, but the Group of Seven artists said Canadian art is valuable, is good, and should be collected. And today, when we talk about the Group of Seven, we often describe it as the first Canadian art movement.
But what did the group really contribute to art, and why does it matter to us? The fact that they let Canadian art be seen as legitimate allowed us to be taken seriously as a country, and let the world know what Canada can really do. This is why their art remains important to many Canadians today, including many visitors at the National Art Gallery of Canada.
I'm excited to be here at the National Gallery today because I feel like I'm viewing some of the most precious items that Canada owns, and that's some of our Group of Seven pieces, and in addition to that, Emily Carr. And I just think they should be like staples for all of Canadian students to understand the Group of Seven, get to know each of the painters, and hopefully one day you'll all be inspired to try painting.
I've only ever seen it in books. This is my first opportunity to ever see it in person at the National Art Gallery. And some of it I find very attractive, but mostly I find it symbolic of the evolution of our history. And so it is nice to be able to come somewhere and see where Canadian art started. Start down with the Inuit and the Aboriginal, but up to the Group of Seven, so contemporary and Western art, and follow it through. So, particularly like that piece around there.
The Group of Seven played an important role as the pioneers of Canadian art. They were the first group to step forward and show the world what Canada can do by itself, and not just as a part of Britain or an association of the United States. From sea to shining sea, the group's members showed the world a new side of Canada and helped reinvent what it means to be Canadian.